to come. The Germans set up a commercial port within their own territory at Lübeck, and soon their ships swarmed around Gotland, the headquarters of Swedish trade with Russia and the East. The Germans settled in the seaport town of Visby on Gotland Island, and the city soon began to dominate the Baltic. To this day it is one of the notable tourist attractions in Sweden. Perhaps nowhere in Europe is the spirit of the Middle Ages more alive than in Visby. The rich men of Visby built no fewer than 15 churches, most of them now in a state of picturesque disrepair, and their trust in God was prudently tempered by a strong mistrust of men. The town is still embraced on 3 sides by the great wall completed in 1300, behind which the merchants guarded their treasures, and only to seaward is free access given. The walls are studded with watchtowers, from which sentries kept constant vigil. The largest and best preserved of these, the Powder Tower, affords from its summit a view of a medieval city which the passing centuries have treated kindly. The German Hanse, or Company of Gotland Travellers, competed fiercely with the local merchants for the Russian trade and, reaching across the Baltic, founded the Latvian city of Riga. In 1170, King Canute I of Sweden signed a trade treaty with the Germans, and from that time onward, Sweden's maritime power in the Baltic declined. Rather, Canute concentrated on strengthening Sweden internally. In 1187, pirates from Estonia and Karelia, on the eastern shore of the Baltic, sailed boldly into Lake Mälaren, burned and sacked towns and villages, and murdered the archbishop. To prevent such an outrage from happening again, Canute built a wooden fort on a small island commanding the entrance to Mälaren. The stronghold was given the name of Stockholm, the future Swedish capital, signifying a stockaded islet. In 1182, Valdemar I of Denmark died, lamented, as a chronicler says, by all Denmark, and was succeeded by his eldest son, Canute VI, a pious man who, with the help of the invaluable Absalon, extended Danish dominion over Pomerania and Holstein. By 1184, Canute could style himself King of the Danes and Wends. On his death in 1202, his brother, Valdemar II, the Victorious, ascended the throne and reigned for almost 40 years. The new king, stirred by still greater ambitions, had made up his mind to extend the Danish sphere of influence eastward and southward into the Baltic and the adjoining German lands. While still a prince, he had won control of the chief Baltic seaport of German Lübeck. Now, as king, he received fealty from a number of German princelings. Estonia, which had harboured so many pirates, was subdued in 1219. The campaign was a bitter one, and it gave rise to one of the great legends of Danish history. In that year, so the story goes, the Danes, in the course of a hard-fought battle near the modern Tallinn, lost their banner to the enemy, much to their dismay. The Danish forces were being hard-pressed by the heathen and were becoming disheartened when, from the sky, dropped a red flag bearing a white cross. The Danes gained fresh courage from this miracle and, rallying beneath their new standard, defeated the enemy. This magic banner, known as the Dannebrog, Dane's cloth, was the model for the national flag that has flown over Denmark ever since that day. Valdemar II, in spite of his proud nickname, was not always lucky. In 1223, he and his eldest son were kidnapped by one of his German vassals while on a hunting expedition and taken to a German prison. With Valdemar out of the way, the German lords rebelled and threw off their Danish overlords. Only after 2.5 years were Valdemar and his son released, and then on harsh conditions. Except for Rügen and Estonia, Denmark's overseas holdings were no more. For the rest of his reign, Valdemar II devoted himself to reforms at home. Much of his efforts to strengthen and centralize the royal power in Denmark went to naught when his sons fell to warring among themselves. Valdemar, in his drive to create foreign markets for Danish agriculture, had taxed the land heavily, with the result that many peasants had relinquished land ownership.